in this electrochemistry chapter, in this video we'll discuss about conductors, types of conductors, what is the meaning of electrolytic conductance, conductivity. So the first thing is, what are conductors? Conductors are the substances which conduct electricity, all of us know, okay, which allow the passage of electric current through them are known as conductors. Now, how many types of conductors are there? So there are two types of conductors. The first is metallic conductors. Metallic conductors means metals, for example, copper, silver, zinc. Okay, and why metals are good conductor of electricity? Due to the presence of free electrons. So the flow of current is due to the flow of electrons through the metallic conductors. The second type of conductors are electrolytic conductors or electrolytes. Now, what are electrolytes? These are the substances which allow current to pass through them either in molten state or in aqueous state. Okay, and current flows due to the presence of ions. So ions carry current. Now, what are the examples of electrolytes? So the examples of electrolytes are acids, bases, and salts. Okay, so aqueous or molten solutions of acids, bases, and salts act as electrolytic conductors. Since this chapter mainly deals with electrolytic and electrochemical cells, and in both the type of cells we use electrolytes. So today in this video we have to discuss that what is the meaning of electrolytic conductors. Okay, how many types of electrolytic conductors are there? Okay, what is electrolytic conductance? How to increase this conductance or how to decrease this conductance. Now these electrolytes are also of two types, or electrolytic conductors are of two types, that is strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes. Now first, what are strong electrolytes? Strong electrolytes are those which are completely dissociated into ions in solution. So when they are dissolved in ions, they are completely dissociated. Okay, now what is the meaning of this? So we have strong acid here, for example HCl. If this HCl is dissolved in water, it will be completely dissociated into H plus and Cl minus. We have strong base, for example NaOH. Now it is dissociated into Na plus and OH minus. And likewise we have salt, for example NaCl. When dissolved in water, it will dissociate into Na plus and Cl minus. So these electrolytes are completely dissociated into ions. Means they will form 100% ions. So definitely their current carrying power will be more. And likewise we have weak electrolytes. Okay, now it is easy for us to understand. So what is the meaning of weak electrolyte? Which are partly dissociated into ions. Okay, so which are partly dissociated into ions. These are weak electrolytes. Now what is the example? We have weak acid, suppose acetic acid. Now since they are partly dissociated, partly means not 100%, 50%, 40%. So in the container, ions will also be there and the molecules will also be there. Acetic acid molecules will also be there. So in such type of electrolytes, there exists equilibrium like this. Okay, so one reversible arrow is there because in the container it is also present, it is also present, and it is also present. So for weak electrolytes, we put reversible or double-headed arrow because the molecules will be dissociated into ions and the ions will again combine to form the molecule. And likewise, we have weak base like NH4OH Okay. Now since lesser number of ions are there, so the current carrying power is less. So this was all about the introduction part, that what are electrolytes, what are conductors, how many types of electrolytes are there. Now next thing that we have to discuss is electrolytic conduction. What is the meaning of electrolytic conduction? Okay, now we have seen in electrolytic cell, okay, that when a voltage is applied to the electrodes dipped in the electrolytic solution, okay, so when you pass current in the solution of the electrolyte, the ions of the electrolyte move and therefore the electric current flows. So just like metallic conductors, these electrolytic conductors also follow Ohm's law. Okay, in physics we have learnt about Ohm's law. Ohm's law will basically apply to metals, metallic rods, metallic conductors. Okay, now since conduction is there, conduction of current is there, so like metallic conductors, these electrolytic conductors also follow Ohm's law. So first we are going to discuss Ohm's law here. Okay, now what is Ohm's law? Ohm's law says that current flowing through the conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference across it, that is I is proportional to V. What is I here? Current. And what is V here? It is the potential difference. Okay, current flowing through the conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference across it. And if we remove the proportionality sign, we get a constant. And what is that constant? The constant is R. And this R is what? This R is resistance. Okay, and what is the unit of resistance? It is ohm, like this. So basically resistance is the proportionality constant. Okay, now the second thing that we are going to discuss is resistance. So if we see Ohm's law, a term comes resistance. Now what is the meaning of resistance? Resistance means obstruction to the flow of current. Okay, this is the definition of resistance. Now we have learned that resistance is directly proportional to length of conductor and resistance is inversely proportional to area of cross section. Okay, so we can write R is proportional to L upon A, or what we can write? We can write R is equal to rho L by A. Okay, so a new proportionality constant is there and that constant is rho. So if we see Ohm's law, the new terms come resistance. If we define resistance, then in the formula we get a new term, that is rho. Now what is the meaning of rho? Let's discuss. Now this rho is known as resistivity or specific resistance. Okay, now R is equal to rho L by A. So rho is equal to R into A upon L. Now how to define this rho? If length is 1 centimeter, area of cross section is 1 centimeter square, then what will happen? R will be equal to rho. Okay, if this is 1, this is 1, then rho will be equal to R. So how you will define this resistivity? It is defined as resistance of a conductor 1 centimeter in length and 1 centimeter square area of cross section. So this is a way to define any proportionality constant that put all the other things equal to 1. So if we put length and area 1 and 1, then whatever resistance we are getting, that is equal to resistivity or specific resistance. Okay, or in other words, what we can see? It is the resistance of, now length and area, that is volume, resistance of 1 centimeter cube of a conductor. Okay, so what is the definition of resistivity? It is the resistance of 1 centimeter cube of a conductor. Now what is the unit? So let's see what is the unit. Now resistance is measured in ohms. centimeter square upon centimeter, so it will be ohm centimeter. So what is the unit of specific resistance or resistivity? It is ohm centimeter. Now the next term is conductance. Conductance is denoted by a symbol G. And what is conductance? It is the power of an electrolyte or the conductor to carry electric current. Okay. G is the reciprocal of resistance. So reciprocal of resistance is conductance. So what we do, whenever any conductor is given to us, we first find out its resistance. Okay. And after finding its resistance, the inverse of that will give us conductance. So what will be the unit? It is ohm inverse, mho, okay, MHO, and in SI unit it is denoted by Siemens. So this is about conductance. Now the next is conductivity. Conductivity is denoted by a Greek letter kappa, and it is the reciprocal of resistivity. Okay, so conductance is the reciprocal of resistance and conductivity is the reciprocal of resistivity. Now what was the definition of resistivity? Resistivity is the resistance of 1 centimeter cube of a conductor. Okay, then what is the conductivity? It is the conductance. So this is the definition. It is the conductance of 1 centimeter cube of conductor. Since we are dealing here with electrolytes, so it is the conductance of 1 centimeter cube of conductor, that is our electrolytic solution. Now what will be the unit of this conductivity? Now what was the unit of resistivity? Ohm centimeter. So its unit is ohm inverse, centimeter inverse, or we can say Siemens centimeter inverse. Now the last is molar conductivity. Molar conductivity is denoted by the symbol lambda m, and for the solutions we basically use molar conductivity only. The conducting power of all the ions produced by dissolving 1 mole of electrolyte in the solution. Okay, means now the concentration is also playing an important role. So what is the conducting power of 1 mole of a solution? That is molar conductivity. The formula is K into 1000 upon M. Now what is K here? K is conductivity. What is M here? It is molar concentration, that is in moles per liter. Now how we can derive its unit? So what is the unit of conductivity? Siemens centimeter inverse. What is the unit of molarity? Moles per liter. Now in place of liter I can put centimeter cube also, because I know 1 centimeter cube is 1 ml. Okay, so at the place of moles per liter we can write moles per centimeter cube also. So we'll get final unit as Siemens centimeter square mole inverse. The next thing is how to experimentally determine the conductance and conductivity of a solution. Okay, suppose if any metal wire is given to us, we can measure its resistance, and after measuring its resistance we can find out its conductance. But how to find out the conductance of a solution? So the conductance is the reciprocal of resistance, and the resistance is measured by Wheatstone bridge method. This you must have learnt in physics. Okay, now this is the circuit diagram for your Wheatstone bridge. So unknown resistance is determined with the help of this Wheatstone bridge method. So this R1 is variable resistance, R3, R4, and at the place of R2, okay, now I will connect the terminals to a conductivity cell. Now this is known as conductivity cell. The conductivity cell is having the solution whose resistance we have to determine. Okay, now these are 2 metal rods and these are connected here like this. So whatever resistance is R2, that will be the resistance of this solution. So we connect this solution in this circuit diagram. Okay, and this is the conductivity cell, and according to Wheatstone bridge, R1 upon R2 is equal to R3 upon R4. This R2 is unknown, that is the resistance of solution, so R2 will give you this. Okay, and after finding out unknown resistance, the reciprocal of this R2 will give you the conductance. So this is the experimentally method to determine the conductance of any solution. Now the second thing is how to measure conductivity. Conductivity is denoted by the symbol kappa, and it is 1 upon resistivity. and resistivity is Ra upon L. So substitute the values. So K is equal to 1 upon R, A and L, or it will be 1 upon R into L upon A. Now just now we have measured resistance by using Wheatstone-Bridge method, and 1 upon R is what? It is the conductance, and this L upon A is represented by another symbol which is known as G star. Now what is this G star? This G star is known as cell constant because it is particular for a particular conductivity cell. Now what is L here? Suppose this is my conductivity cell. Conductivity cell is having 2 electrodes which are dipped in the electrolytic solution. Now what is this L? The L is the distance between 2 electrodes. Okay, this distance L. Okay, so what is this L? L is the distance between 2 electrodes. And what is A? A is the area of cross section of electrodes. Okay, so distance between 2 electrodes is L, and A is the area of cross section of 2 electrodes, and this L by A is constant for a particular conductivity cell. Okay, so if we change the conductivity cell, then this cell constant will change. So what is the formula that we have derived now? Conductivity is equal to conductance into cell constant. Now let's solve a numerical based on this formula. 0.05 m NaOH solution offered a resistance of 31.6 ohms in a conductivity cell. If the area of plates is 3.8 centimeter square, means the area of cross section of electrodes, and the distance between them is 1.4. So L and A are given to us. Calculate the molar conductivity. Okay, now what is the formula for molar conductivity? Okay, so molarity is given, but K we have to find out. And what is K? It is G into G star. So first determine this K. Now what is conductance? Conductance is 1 upon R. And what is this G star? L upon A. So 1 upon 31.6 into 1.4 upon 3.8. Okay, substitute the values. So we'll get the value of this conductivity. And this conductivity will be, if you solve this, Siemens centimeter inverse. Now put this value here. And what is molarity? 0.05. Okay, now solve this value and the answer will be 232 Siemens centimeter square mole inverse. Don't forget to mention the unit. Now this is an assignment question. Try to solve this. The resistance of 0.05 m NaOH solution of diameter 1 centimeter. Diameter means the area of cross, means we can find out area of cross section with the help of this information. So if diameter is 1 centimeter, radius will be 0.5 centimeter. And what is area? It is pi r square. So we can find out area from this diameter. And length 50 centimeter, that is L, is given to us, and resistance is given to us. We have to calculate resistivity, conductivity and molar conductivity. So first we'll find out rho by using the formula. Then we'll find out conductivity like this, and then we'll find out molar conductivity like this. Now let's discuss what is the variation of molar conductivity with concentration. Okay, so if you change the concentration of electrolytic solution, what will be its effect on the values of molar conductivity? Okay, so this will be discussing for strong electrolytes as well as for weak electrolytes. So first we are discussing this for strong electrolytes. Okay, now what are strong electrolytes? Which are completely or 100% dissociated into ions. Now what is molar conductivity? Molar conductivity is basically the product of conductivity and volume. Okay, so this is the relation of molar conductivity and volume. So from the relation it is clear that if you increase the volume, okay, the molar conductivity will increase. And the same has been observed practically also. Okay, so for strong electrolytes, since these are completely dissociated into ions, their conducting power is more. Okay, now as dilution increases, okay, now dilution increases means you are increasing the volume, or we can say that concentration decreases, the molar conductivity keeps on increasing. So if you keep on adding water, if you keep on diluting the solution, the molar conductivity will keep on increasing. And when the dilution is infinite, now what is the meaning of infinite dilution? That too much water has been added, the water is in excess, or we can say that the concentration approaches zero. Now concentration is never zero for a solution, practically it is not possible, but we can say that the dilution is that to that much extent, we have added water to that much extent that the concentration of solute is now negligible. So when the dilution is infinite, that is excess water has been added, the molar conductivity reaches its maximum value, and that maximum value is lambda m naught or lambda m infinity. Molar conductivity at zero concentration or molar conductivity at infinite dilution. This is the maximum value of molar conductivity for an electrolytic solution. Suppose if I have 1m HCl solution. Okay, now 1m HCl is having some value of lambda m. Now I am adding water, diluting the concentration 1.9, 0.8, 0.7, like this. The molar conductivity will keep on increasing. And we will find that at one place, the molar conductivity has reached to a constant value. Now it's not increasing. So definitely that is the maximum value. Okay, and that maximum value is lambda m naught. So lambda m is equal to lambda m naught when the concentration approaches zero or at the infinite dilution. Now the next thing is how to find out the value of this lambda m naught, because now this is a constant value for a particular solution. So how to find out this value? Now this value we can determine by an equation that is known as Debye-Huckel-Onsager equation. Okay, and what is this equation? This equation is this. Lambda m is the molar conductivity at any concentration. Lambda m naught is the molar conductivity at zero concentration, that is the maximum value. Now A is a constant which depends upon the nature of that solution, and C is a concentration factor here. So basically this equation is the relation between molar conductivity and concentration. So what we'll do, we'll plot a graph. Now lambda m here and root c here. So you can see that as concentration increases, lambda m decreases, or we can say that now this side, if you move from here to here, concentration is decreasing. So as concentration decreases, lambda m increases. Okay, now after this point, lambda m value is not increasing. Okay, because it will increase only up to a limit and afterwards it will be constant, saturated, you know. So how to find out lambda m naught? So this is zero concentration. So lambda m naught can be determined by extra plotting the graph. Okay, so this is lambda m naught. So for strong electrolytes, we can say that lambda m naught can be determined by extra plotting the graph to zero concentration. And for different electrolytic solutions, we have calculated the lambda m naught. Now for weak electrolytes, how to find out what is the variation of molar conductivity with concentration? Now weak electrolytes are partly dissociated into ions. So definitely the ions are less. So the conducting power is also less. So if you decrease the concentration, okay, now the concentration we are decreasing. So if we decrease the concentration, the molar conductivity increases, but slowly. You can see the graph is not a straight line. Okay, so if to a weak electrolyte, for example acetic acid, if you keep on adding water, the molar conductivity will increase, but not sharply. Slowly it will increase like this. Now the main question is how to find out the lambda m naught or the maximum value. Now here it is not possible because this is the point after which the molar conductivity will not increase. Now in case of strong electrolytes, we have extra plotted the graph, and here it is not possible. So how to find out the lambda m naught for weak electrolytes? Okay, now this we cannot determine from graph. From graph it is not possible. Okay, so an indirect method will be using, and that indirect method is based on Kohlrausch law. So basically Kohlrausch law we apply to find out the lambda m naught for weak electrolytes. Now we have to discuss Kohlrausch law, because if we want to determine lambda m naught for weak electrolytes, we must know Kohlrausch law. Okay, now what is Kohlrausch law? It is also known as law of independent migration of ions. Okay, so first of all we'll discuss what is basically Kohlrausch law. So at infinite dilution, when the dissociation is complete, each ion makes a definite contribution towards the molar conductivity irrespective of the nature of other ion with which it is associated. So this is the statement for Kohlrausch law. And what is the meaning of this statement? That each ion contributes towards the lambda m naught. Suppose an electrolyte is made up of two ions, so both the ions will contribute in the lambda m naught. Or we can say that, we can take some examples. For example, lambda m naught for HCl is equal to the sum of lambda m naught for the two ions. So both the ions are contributing. Likewise, suppose we have NaCl, so it is equal to lambda m naught for Na plus lambda m naught for Cl minus. And since we want to calculate the lambda m naught for weak electrolytes, so suppose it is acetic acid, so it will be equal to lambda m naught for acetate ion plus lambda m naught for H plus ion. So if you know these two values, you can calculate, you can add these two values, and you can find out lambda m naught for weak electrolytes. Now let's discuss the applications of Kohlrausch law. The first is calculation of lambda m naught for weak electrolytes. So suppose if I want to calculate lambda m naught for acetic acid, now I know that this is equal to the sum of acetate ion plus H plus. Now how to find out the values of these two? So these two we will determine from strong electrolytes. Now how it is done? Suppose I am having three strong electrolytes. One is CH3COONA, that is sodium acetate. The second is HCl, and the third is NaCl. Okay, so three strong electrolytes I am having, and these values I can determine from graph. Now it is equal to plus lambda m naught for Na plus, it is equal to lambda m naught for H plus lambda m naught for Cl minus, and it is equal to lambda m naught for Na plus and lambda m naught for Cl minus. So I know these values, and from these values I will determine the lambda m naught for acetic acid. Now how it is done? By addition and subtraction. Okay, I want the value of this. Now where it is coming? First equation. I want the value of H plus. Now where it is coming? Second equation. So I will add first and second equation. Okay, now if you add first and second equation, these two will be added, and along with this Na plus and Cl minus will be added. So what you will do? Subtract the third. So first plus second minus third. So this Na plus and Na plus, this Cl minus and Cl minus will be cancelled, and finally you will get this value. So what I can say? I can say that lambda m naught for acetic acid is equal to lambda m naught for sodium acetate plus lambda m naught for HCl. Okay, these two I have to add, minus lambda m naught for NaCl. And I know these three values because these are strong electrolytes, so their values I will get from the graph. So this is the major application of Colrausch law, that if you know the lambda m naught for strong electrolytes, you can calculate the lambda m naught for weak electrolytes. Now the second application is calculation of degree of dissociation. Since weak electrolytes are partly dissociated, so to how much percentage they are dissociated, that is alpha. Alpha is degree of dissociation and it is lambda m upon lambda m naught. And what is lambda m? Molar conductivity at any concentration. And what is lambda m naught? Molar conductivity at zero concentration or infinite dilution. Now let's solve some numerical problems based on Colrausch law. Now the first question is that same only. We have to calculate lambda m naught for acetic acid and the three values are given to us. So how to solve this? So lambda m naught for acetic acid is equal to lambda m naught for, I know I have to add CH3CONA plus lambda m naught for HCl. Okay, now how you will find out? Now it is having two parts, this and this, so add the two, and the third one you have to subtract. Okay, so it will be, now what is for CH3CONA? It is 91 plus for HCl it is 425.9 and minus 126.4. So what will be the final answer? The final answer will be 390.5 Siemens centimeter square mole inverse. Now the second question is, the lambda m naught for NH4Cl, NaOH and NaCl are 129.8, 217.4 and 108 Siemens centimeter square mole inverse, and we have to calculate that for NH4OH. So this we can do by adding the two and subtracting the third one. If the molar conductivity, now lambda m is given to us, of 0.01 m solution of NH4OH is this, calculate, now this we have to do, and degree of dissociation. Now how to solve this question? We have to calculate lambda m naught for NH4OH. Now this will be equal to lambda m naught for NH4Cl plus lambda m naught for, now where OH is there, it is in the NaOH, minus lambda m naught for NaCl. So what is NH4Cl? It is 129.8 plus what is NaOH? It is 108 and minus 217.4. So we'll get the answer. So it is 455.2. Now we have to calculate alpha, and what is alpha? Lambda m upon lambda m naught. Now what is lambda m? It is 9.33 divided by 455.2. Okay, and you will get the answer, and since we get alpha in percentage only, okay, so for getting the answer in percentage we'll multiply this by 100. Okay, so the answer will be 3.9%.